Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today we have something nice sent all the way from America by Tyler. So Tyler views the channel and he bought these two items, meant to try to fix them himself but never got round to it, and then thought he'd send them to me, which is fantastic of him. This is my PO box. I have a PO box now at long last if you are interested. It's PO Box 2597 Watford WD18 1HT. Amazingly, that postcode there, I thought that would have been for the sorting office. It's not. When you type in that postcode, it comes up with my PO box number, so I now have my own postcode, which makes me feel like I've made it in the world. Now, what do we have in here? You already know because of the title of the video. But look, Atari Lynx, not just one, but two of them. So let me read out what Tyler said about these, and then we can have a look at them. I've already put batteries in. On one of them, I have got sound and something on the display. On the other one, it's completely dead. Let me read out the email he sent me. So I'll pop it up on screen for you to read it. I'm just going to read it off my phone. It says, I hope these Atari Lynx find you well and you're able to repair at least one of them. I found both of them on eBay for a decent price. Both of them listed as not working. I've had them for over a year now with every intention to repair them. Obviously, that didn't happen. I did not even try to repair them or remove parts or anything. Maybe you can use parts from the really beat up and corroded unit to repair the not so bad one. Hell, I just watched you bring that MacBook Air back to life, so I have faith you can do the same for both of these. I think I just got lucky on that MacBook Air, if I'm honest with everybody out there, considering the state of it. Thanks again, Vince, for everything you do and keeping me and quite a lot of people entertained every week. Cheers, Tyler. Well, thank you very much, Tyler. It's always nice to read messages like that. As everybody knows, sometimes on YouTube you can focus on the toxic messages, but obviously those people that leave those messages might not be in a good frame of mind when they're leaving stuff like that. So obviously there's a lot of people out there that do like loads of different channels, but the channel owners might not get to hear that. So it's always nice when you do hear nice messages like that. Right, so I have never owned a Lynx apart from when I bought one for a repair challenge a while back. On that one there, I managed to get it working. I think that was no power, but I think it was just corrosion on the board to get that working, and I think I changed out the headphone jack or the power jack, it might have been. But annoyingly, I sold it, I think, for the same price as I bought it. So when you took into account fees and everything, I think I sold the Lynx and something like 3 or 4 games, I think 3 games, for £50 or £60, a very, very low price. But that's the way it goes. So I haven't actually got any games or anything. So I bought 2 games from CEX in the UK. I did just opt for the cheap ones because I don't know if I'm going to get these working. But it just so happens that California Games was one of my favourite games when I was a child anyway. And I just got this one just in case this one was faulty, because you never really know, but by having 2 it'd be very, very unlikely to get 2 faulty ones. Robo Squash I've never heard of. I watched a quick YouTube video and it looks like a game you can pick up and play without having to practice for years on it. And also I just wanted to see what the boxes were like, because I've never owned a boxed version of an Atari Lynx game. Now the Atari Lynx, although I've never owned one, they hold a special place in my heart because, in fact, while I'm doing this, I might as well pop the batteries in to show you what's what. Because I remember back in school, vividly remember this, it was CDT, like woodwork, and I remember me and my friends, it was coming up to Christmas and we wanted one of these so bad, but we knew it weren't going to happen because, you know, these were expensive. I think at the time I might have had the Sega Master System, which was 8-bit, and these ones here are 16-bit, which is just great. Let me put this game in because I've seen this game was working earlier. Yeah, so it was one of those things that you want so desperately as a child, but unfortunately they were quite expensive and it was never really, you know, it was never going to happen. Unless maybe you had your birthday and Christmas together, or if you were sensible enough to maybe back up your birthday present to Christmas. But when you're at that young age, you don't want to wait for all that time, do you? Do you know what? I pressed on there. Hold on, is that the corroded one or is this the corroded one? No, that's the corroded one. It did make a noise. Different things are wrong, like, for example, this button's jammed here. Let me see the volume. No, okay, so it did make a noise. Oh, and look, the screen is lighting up. Can you see that? Look, off, on. Okay, well there is a bit of power there. Excellent, good news. So it's not completely dead. So I was actually slightly disappointed in having to get rid of the other Atari Lynx, but it was part of the competition, so I had no choice. Now this one here's got very bad corrosion. I think some batteries have been left in here and they've just leaked their way through it over the many months and years that they were probably left in there. In fact, let me try this game, because then we know that this game works as well. It's kind of strange that you have to put this in where you can't see the game. You think it would be the other way around. There we go, so you can see, or you might not be able to see, the screen is doing something, but not a huge amount. There we go. Oh, remember that. So it looks like it's working, but we've got a problem with the screen. So worst case scenario, it would be great if I could get one working out of both of them. Best case scenario, it would be lovely to get both of them working. So let's take them apart and see what's happening on the inside. I think I'm just going to take them both apart together. I've lost the battery in here. Okay, doesn't matter. We can take that out when we get to it. Okay, screws. Also, this has long screw damage here. What I didn't realise is this feels like metal. I didn't realise that it was part metal. I thought they're plastic, but it looks like the casing is metal. I remember this from last time. There's 2 long screws and 2 short screws, so it's easy to get them in the wrong side. Yeah, look at that. Wow, major leakage there. But amazingly, the battery contacts are not too bad. Right, so that's that there. Let's take the game out. At least we know both games are working. So CEX, good on ya. I like CEX. A lot of people seem to moan about them, but I like them. I know sometimes the stuff you get can be a little bit damaged and stuff. Every now and then they might not be tested fantastically, but it's just a nice, easy way to get things when you're in a bit of a rush. Well, I can see some little jumper wires here. I can't remember if that's normal or not. Amazingly, there doesn't seem to be much corrosion on this side here. So obviously it was placed down like this when all the batteries did the leaking. Oh, what's this here? Oh, that's just a post. One of the posts is broken. Ooh, that's pretty, is that nasty or not? Maybe that was just stuck down originally. I wonder, is this going to be a ribbon cable fault then on the screen? Because it looks like it's just a screen which is not working. Well, that's all gone kind of weird as well. Look at that there. Oh, there you go. They just pop. Oh, they were put in the wrong way. That was put in the wrong way. Excellent. One thing fixed. So this is the version 1, not the smaller second version. And we're going to have that little fluorescent light there from the Game Gear. I remember on the Game Gear that gave me a nasty shock. So I need to make sure I keep my hands away from that, because although we only have whatever it is going in there, but we've got 6 batteries, so 9 volts going in there, it steps up the voltage going into that one there. Okay, we've got a spring here. How do we take the actual screen off though? Is there a little... Oh, it's these things, isn't it? Do we have to force them through? Or can we just... Oh, we can unclip them there. I just want to have a look at the ribbon cable. I'm wondering if that's the problem with this. So that's a little backlight here. You can see again damage where the leak has gone. We've got a little screw holding this here. Let's undo that. So I presume there should be a screw on each corner. Ah, right, okay, yeah, I can see damage here. Not damage, but you know, like corrosion. Can you see here? So we have to clean that up. I think the ribbon cable needs reseating. Let's zoom in and have a look at it. I reckon corrosion's got under it. Either here, here, or possibly even on this side here, maybe. Maybe I could do what I did with the Seiko thesaurus. I had to think about how to say that there, thesaurus. And, you know, go over it with an iron, because these are kind of glued on. Well, not kind of, they're glued on. So they're not soldered on, they're glued on. Right, okay. Right, well, let's leave that there for the time being. We need to do quite a bit of cleaning on that. And let's keep the screws for this one over that side. Let's take apart the other one. Now, if you're into old stuff like this, check out Gadget UK 164. Gadget's been a supporter of this channel really since I started doing Trying to Fix videos, and he comments on every one of the videos and helps me out. And I definitely know that he's done some Atari Lynx, the version 2. Don't think he's done any version 1, but I could be wrong. But he's got loads of videos on his channel of the loads of different systems over the years, especially if you're into things like Amigas and stuff like that. Now this one looks a lot neater, doesn't it? A lot neater indeed. And this has got all the screws and everything in place. Now this hasn't got those little jumper wires, so has a repair already been attempted on this then? Or is it something from factory? Oh look, they're slightly different boards, aren't they? Yeah, can you see there? We haven't got that there. Got another one here. Haven't got the one up here. So they are slightly different. Right, the button that was jammed, I think again is just because it was put in wrong. Where to begin? I don't know. I can't swap the screens over because they're soldered into, you know, like glued into place. I think what we should do is start with the corroded one and see if, what is that there? Is that on that one? It's kind of awkward that they're slightly different. I think maybe we should start on the screen on the corroded one and see if we can get it any better by putting pressure against it. I'll tell you what, let's clean up the corroded one first of all, because this one looks pretty good, and then we can worry about this one afterwards. It's IPA time again. 99.9% alcohol. And I'm just going to put a small bit on the screen, clean up this area here, and then wipe it off before it drips everywhere. Then I'm going to clean the ribbon cables, and then I'm just going to go over the board. So while I'm scrubbing this, let's give a shout out to the My Mate Vince Massive. Now before I do that, I just want to thank all the Patreons, because there's a big list of Patreons that never get a mention. Yes, they get the videos without adverts on, but still they don't get a mention. So at the end of this video here, in the outro song, everybody will be listed. The reason Patreon, although I wasn't on it for years and years, the reason it's important is it definitely takes the pressure off. For example, I've got a MacBook M1 here, a MacBook Air, a 2020 model that needs to be looked at. Now that video will probably get quite a few views, but when I do something like a faulty inclinometer or a faulty 1970s Casio calculator, everybody knows that's not going to get much real views on YouTube, but it doesn't mean it's not an interesting item. And for me, that's where Patreon comes in. In a way, it subsidises me to allow me to do what I would like to do, rather than being forced to do the things that are most clickable. The reason that is good is because if you're forced to do the things that are most clickable because you need the views in order to make a living from YouTube, it just means that most people would end up doing the same products. We would all just be doing PlayStation 5s because right now that's going to be the most clickable thing. But you see, it doesn't mean that some reel-to-reel player from the 1960s isn't as interesting. And that's for me where Patreon really comes in. So massive thanks to all of you. And in particular, massive thanks to the My Mate Vince Massive, because they do pledge at the highest level. So the Massive this month contains Operational 117, kitdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokotansky, Having Fun Repairs, Ellensburg Amplifier Repair and Service, Will Michaelis, Chris Seal, the My Mate Vince Fan Club, woo, I don't know why I do that, Dorian from Hoover Lux Restorations, Mediasteamer.com, Rob Hughes, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, and Dan Prutton. So massive, massive, massive thanks to everybody, part of the massive, the crew and the club. Anyway, let's get back to this video. Screen's definitely got some imperfection in the middle here. Can you see it there? And that wasn't me now. That's been there. I noticed that when I first took it off. You can see it from both sides there. It's strange. Right, I will get white vinegar on here because they're quite badly corroded. So this is white vinegar. And because the batteries are alkaline and this is an acid, then it will neutralise it. I think I will be resoldering these wires here because they look very black. Yeah, again, let me zoom in. The corrosion's travelled up here. I wonder how far it's gone. Really, I need to replace this. So let's strip it back to here. And let's see if we've got shiny copper here or not. No, there you go. Look at that. This is what I was talking about the telephone cables ages ago. When water gets in, capillary action sucks it right the way up. And obviously it's doing the same with the corrosion as well. So although this would still work, you can see there that we're about 1 inch and a bit up. And it's there. Let's go a bit further up here. No, completely black. There you go, it's fine there. Yeah, so you can see the difference there and there. So it's travelled all the way from here to probably around here somewhere. There you go, you can see it's gone from black to silver. Right, let's replace that. And I think it's probably going to be the same with this black wire. Let's have a look. Yeah. Right, it's kind of silver and black there, so it's travelled a good bit again. Let's replace those two wires. So I've just got my replacement wire here. It's just old Christmas tree wire that I have. But it's nice and thick and it's copper. Right, now I've zoomed in, this is the corroded board still, and I am going to just scrape around the place because, for example, when I look closely now, can you see there is definitely damage? So there might be corrosion between the chip legs, or possibly even here now. Is it getting through to here? Let's get the multimeter out and see what's happening. Might not necessarily be the screen, maybe there's something wrong with the signals getting to the screen. I've just got my meter on continuity, so it goes from here to here. No, it is getting there annoyingly. $13 ohms though, so not great. I would say that that's nearly gone through there. And what about this one? Where does that one go to? Does it go to here? Can't really see. Okay, amazingly, they're all getting to where they need to go. Let's see where this one goes to. Okay, interesting. We have got it to here. Have we? Hold on. There. But not there. Right, let's keep scraping at that. Let me just get a little knife out. think that's going to be feeding this side here. And then it goes back through. Why does it go through there then? How does it go back through to here? Oh, to jump over that one there. They've done it the opposite side rather than... Okay, yep. So now we should have continuity then between here and here. We do here, but not here. Excellent. So 100% we found a fault. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's try to jumper that up with solder, and then we can carry on cleaning up the rest of the board and just fixing faults as we find them. You know what? I'm already really enjoying this. Really enjoying this one so far. There's something so satisfying about finding a trace or a track which is not going to where it should be, and where you can physically see it. You know, let's say now on something newer like a Nintendo Switch, which has got loads of different layers. So on this board, I presume it's just top and bottom, so you can see exactly what's going on. For example, it went through there, and I was thinking, oh, why does it go through there? You look on the other side, you see a jumper. Now 100% you know that it just goes from this resistor here, from here to here, and then up to this capacitor here. So it just makes sense. So really, I could just run a wire from here to here, couldn't I? So I'm just scraping back, adding some flux, and then adding some solder. And then to bridge the broken track, I'm just using a little bit of enamelled wire. After this, I look over other parts of the board, and I can see lots of little bits of damage, especially on the traces going to the wires. Now, if there's damage there, often there can be a chance that the track will not go through the wire. So I'm just making good as I go along on the bits that I find that are damaged. And then once we've done that, we can test it to see if it's made any difference to the screen or not. Okay, I'm just going to test it now. I could use a bench power supply. I just want to see what if it's going to work with the batteries. Right, I've got to be careful of this high voltage at the back here now. But you can see my little light's working anyway. Okay. Right, so it looks like it's gone on the horizontal and the vertical. I think I'm going to lower down my soldering iron to 250 degrees Celsius. At least the speaker's still working. So to be fair, it's no real different than it was earlier on. Now, is it going to work by me heating this up? I really don't know whether it's going to make any difference whatsoever. So my iron's at 250 degrees Celsius. That might not be hot enough. Now the reason I'm doing this is because obviously these are getting quite old now, and the glue that's gluing down these ribbon cables may have dried. So by putting heat on them, I'm hoping that it might reactivate the glue so that they can stick back down again and make a good contact. I start at 250 degrees Celsius, but it isn't making any difference at all. I then up it to about 285, that still isn't making any difference. I think by the end I've gone all the way to 350 degrees Celsius, and it's actually melting the solder. So I'm doing that across the whole thing in the hope that it will remake the connection. Right, now, if that was going to make a difference, you think that it would make a slight difference, even if it doesn't have it perfect, you think you would be able to recognise a bit more on there. So Let's try it again. Nope, still not working, exactly the same as it was before. Okay, what should I do? Let's leave this one for the time being because we're not really getting anywhere with it. I don't want to keep going over the same thing. I don't want to heat up these chips here because it might be something on the board that's causing the screen not to work. So I think let's start on the other one now and let's see if we can have any success on that one. And we can always come back to this afterwards. It's here. What? It's here. What's going on? How weird is that? I wonder whether this was some iffy connection on the batteries. No sound though. Screen still looks weird though. There still seems to be lines down the middle of it, but there's no volume on this one, and also it doesn't seem to actually want to work. And the buttons are working, and there's no sound. So maybe this one's seizing up. Right, let's turn it off. See if we can work out what's going on with this one. Let's zoom in and have a close look at this board. Right, something doesn't look great over here. So that says to me that this has been replaced here. Let's see if that top contact's definitely making it over at this diode here. Yeah, it is. Right, what's happening here? It's a bit messy, but I think it's actually okay. They're not shorting against each other. I think it's just messy flux from ages ago. So this one hasn't got any sound. Maybe it might be worth me double checking the caps on this one, because this definitely has had some work down on that voltage regulator or transistor, whatever it is in the corner. Just going to double check that the caps are on the correct way round. So let me just have a little visual check to begin with. Now, would that make a difference? They've soldered the positive here to this pad rather than this pad. But it shouldn't make a difference, should it? Because it's on the capacitor. The capacitor's joined to that anyway. I think I'm just going to unsolder that anyway, just to make it look a bit nicer. Now, I wonder where this diode is supposed to go. I'm going to leave that disconnected for a minute just to see if it's got more signs of life. See if it does anything different. No, so it's not getting past the very first sort of screen. Shall I try the other game just in case this... Mind you, we heard the music earlier. Let's turn it off. Let me just try another game. Press A or B to continue. At least that tells us what to do. Oh, here we go. This looks like it's working. Paused. Well, that flips it. Pause. Hold on. Yeah, that flip works okay. Now, so we move it around here. Well, this seems to be playing, doesn't it? We do have some weird lines going down the middle of the screen there, don't we? Do you know what I'm going to do? Let me just quickly clean up California Games here. I think I need to look online to see whether it's known that these have screen problems, because maybe they've got to the age now where the LCDs are just breaking down, in which case then there's not really much I can do, because we know that this one here is definitely working. It's just all horrible lines all over the place, and this one here does actually appear to be okay, but it's just the screen doesn't look great. But maybe this one could be a good one for a Mac wheel screen. Here we go. There we go. Okay, well, this one does appear to work, but can you see we've got 2/3 of the screen which are a different colour than that one. So that says to me that there's 3 chips on there. Each chip must be responsible for 1/3 of the screen. I don't think myself that this is going to be repairable, unfortunately. I don't think that's anything to do with the ribbon cable. I think the chips on that screen are failing. Right, okay, let me do a little bit of research and I'll get back to this video. Well, I've been looking online. Unfortunately, it's not good news. So basically, this is very common to have a third of the screen dimmer or darker than the rest. A lot of people are just putting it down to early LCD technology. So changing the capacitors apparently will do dim screen and also the sound issues. But as you can hear, no sound issues, and also there's no dimness issues here either. So I don't think changing the capacitors is going to do anything at all. As far as this one's concerned, I don't think there's going to be any fix for this screen. These screens are not going to be easy to replace because you can see that they're glued on here, so that's not really an option. But maybe a Macwheel mod might be an option. It's just that they're very expensive still now. They're not. There doesn't seem to be any real cheap versions of them. So I need to do a bit more research. But I think even from AliExpress, you know, the other versions I still think are costing up on £60 or £70. So yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm going to go with that. I think what I'm going to do is I've got an ESR meter. I think I am just going to go across some of the caps or all of the caps just to see if any of them are showing like high resistance. In which case, I'm just wondering, could that be possibly linked to this thing here? But you've seen that there's 3 chips on the board, and you can see there's another. Look at this middle section here. So, in fact, maybe that one, that is lighter. Maybe it's like light, medium and dark, and it's just because these two are next to each other it really stands out. So if it's a chip problem, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work, is it, by doing anything, you know, doing anything with capacitors there. But what I might do is, just out of curiosity, I might see if I can mess about with the chips on here by adding a bit of heat to them or putting a soldering iron on them, something like that, just to see if there's any way they could rebond themselves and make it look nicer, even just by heating it up. I wonder whether it will come to life for a bit. So I'm going to play around with it for a while. But yeah, at the end of this, I hope to have a partially working Atari Lynx. But really, I think that's as far as I'm going to get with it. Just like the Game Gears years ago, you can change all the capacitors and stuff on them. If the screens fail, the screens fail. There's not really much you can do about that, apart from put a different replacement modern screen in there, which does look fantastic, but obviously you're paying for that. But I might still do that. Haven't made up my mind yet. So yeah, I'm just going to be fast forwarding through the video now until I get a bit more info on something. Also, I forgot to mention, I looked back at my original video and the board was the same as this one, and this diode here definitely goes between here and this point here. It's just that it's done neatly rather than how this one was done. But yeah, it should be on that negative thing there, so I am just going to put that back on. Now, just to show you roughly what I'm doing with this here, if you look at this capacitor here, this one is 25 volts, 100 microfarad. Okay, 25 volts, 100 microfarad. And if we have a look here, if I go to 100 microfarad, 25 volts, we're looking for something, worst case scenario, 0.32 ohms. So these are through holes, so all I have to do is put the black to the negative, which is this one here, and the red to the positive of the capacitor while it's in circuit. And you can see here, it actually says on it, reference for 25 volt E cap, electrolytic cap, good cap with low ESR, 0.02 ohms, which is a lot less than 125, 0.32. Yeah, so you see, by changing that, I don't think that would make any difference at all. So I'm just going to go across all of them. Okay, so I've put the diode back on here. I've just straightened up this using a bit of hot air and just resoldered the top bit there. I've still got the 1/3 of the screen, which is slightly dim. So right now with this one, I'm not going to take this any further because I don't want to ruin the screen completely. I'm now going to mess around with this ruined screen, and I'm actually going to try to add a bit of heat and stuff to those little chips, because you've seen I've already done the ribbon cables, and it's not that. I'm going to try, I might have a look through the microscope, see if I can see anything obvious on these chips, and maybe try to heat them up and see if that makes any difference. Also, I'm going to put the batteries in and get this connected up and see if I can heat it while it's on, to see then if the lines disappear. I'm just going to add heat, but only at 200 degrees Celsius. just want to see if heating up this chip does anything. And these ones. Now I'm well aware that the screen might crack, but I've put plenty of pressure down. I'm not going to fix this by just holding a bit of foam over it. I think this is well and truly gone. Right, you can see now I've got a white spot there. So I've burnt that, haven't I? Oh, but look, it's filling up again, is it? Yeah, it's filling up, look. Nah, nothing's changing. It definitely appears to make more difference though when I do this chip here, because when I lean on that, can you see the picture changes? Yeah, I'm not going to win with that. But if you have a look at this, let me try to zoom in. It looks like there might be a little bit of corrosion that's gone in on the edge of this chip here. It looks different than these ones down here. So you're never going to see it in the camera, but from here we have loads and loads of tracks that go down into the board. Into the screen. That go along here and in, and down here and in. And also all along here as well. You can see them. So now let's zoom right in on this. This doesn't look right. Now this is the suspect chip here, and can you see from here we have some pretty big traces going into it. Like there's massive, do you know what, it's such a shame that let me get a torch. I don't think I'm going to get the light correct to show you, but basically we actually have some pretty big traces just going in from here into here. These two go in the middle together, and this one goes in here as well. But look here, you can see that it's not right. We've got weird corrosion around here. Yeah. And also up here as well. But you're never going to be able to get under there again. And you won't be able to take that chip off either, because it's all bonded into place. So unfortunately this screen is definitely game over. So my thoughts are now whether it should be Mac Will or not Mac Will. That is the question. Do I spend the money on this in the hope of getting it working? I'm tempted to say yes. Right, now this is quite interesting. So I've got my microscope on it, and what I've been doing is I've been scraping away the kind of, let's call it underfill, the plastic coating around the chip here to see. I've put flux on and I've tried to blow hot air in here, as you can see by the damaged section of the screen here, to see if I can work it in there to clean it up. Now if you have a look, let's see, let's do it so you can see it on screen here. I actually got to see the California Games rotating symbol when I've got my iron set to 419 degrees. Interestingly, not when I was holding it down here or here, but this part of the chip here. Let me just keep it held on there to see if I can see it. I had to have it on for quite a while until it heated up, but I seen it rotating around. I could actually read it. It's coming. There you go. Can you see it starting to? There you go. Games. Now, isn't that interesting? There, look at that. Oh, you can't see that now because the angle's different. There. But as soon as we let go, it goes. And if I hold it somewhere different, you see it's not doing it. It seems to be when we hold it here. I am putting quite a bit of pressure down on it as well. So I'm just going to play around with this for a little bit longer just to see if I can work out what it is. I mean, I think it is just where it's failed, where the corrosion's gone on it. But that's given me just a glimmer of hope now. Look at that. Maybe I might try a bigger tip on the iron and put heat across all of it with a load of flux to see if anything, if it can rebond itself to the glass board underneath it. So it's the next day now, and I had to give up on the screen. I couldn't get it working whatsoever. Eventually what I did is I just took the chip off there just to see what it looks like underneath. And interestingly, it looks like they used some sort of conductive paint on top of the metal pins. So basically these are the chips that go onto the glass thing here, you know, the chips that were faulty. And you can see where the corrosion's taken place. So the corrosion's taken place up here. And I think what it's done is it's wiped away the conductive paints. So I do think if you were possibly a master with the conductive paints, I think maybe you could get this working again, because that must be how it travels from the glass through into the chip. Because if you were just to use balls of solder, I don't think it would work. The same way that, for example, when you're doing a Game & Watch, it's using the zebra connector to conduct from the glass to the board. I'm thinking that instead of using carbon, that it's using conductive paint. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So in theory, if you were to put tiny dots of conductive paint, clean this all back, put new bits of conductive paint from the copper from the chip onto the glass, and then possibly do it when it was wet, squeeze it down and let it dry, maybe then it would actually be possible to resurrect these screens. I'm thinking it's conductive paint, but look, I could be completely wrong. If you know it's done differently, please add it down to the comments below and we can all learn from that. So really, I can't take this one any further. I feel pleased that I proved that it is this chip that is faulty, because when we had pressure down on it, or a combination of heat and pressure, it definitely gave us more on the screen than we've ever had. You could definitely see the rotating logo. Hopefully it's come across in the camera. So I think all that's left to do is take the good bits out of the corroded one and put it into the partially working one to have one Lynx that looks nice at the end of it, because I know on the partially working one the cover for the game is just flapping down, that's not closing. So if I can get the good bits out of both of them and put them together to make one, as Tyler said to begin with, then at least we've got something out of this video. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then I'll show you it working at the very end. Now, where have we ended up with this? Well, it's a few days later. I've actually spent quite a bit of time on here, and the best I can do is get one working okay out of both of them, but this does need a replacement screen in my opinion. So with this one here, what I did is I took the good bits out of it. For example, on this one, this thing here didn't clip down before, while now it clips down. Everything on this is working as far as the buttons are concerned. You can see it flips okay there. So these two work, D-pad works. Brightness works and volume works fine as well. Goes nice and loud, so that's all good. It's just unfortunately the screen itself is playable, fully playable, but it's quite irritating to have that line down there. So what I've done is I've ordered up a Mac wheel screen. Unfortunately, I can't include it in this part of the video because this video is already way too long, and as well as that, it's out of stock, so I don't know how long it's going to take to arrive, whether it's going to be days, weeks or months, but I've got one ordered. I think that might make quite a nice separate video. I did a video when I did it to a Game Gear. It actually did okay views wise, that one. So yeah, maybe people would like to see that in its own video rather than added on to the back of this one here. Now this particular one ended up being quite interesting. This was the one that was working, just had a faulty screen, so this would have been an ideal candidate for a Mac wheel mod. But also Ben Venn, I think, does one as well. But obviously there is more damage to this one here. This was the one that had the bad corrosion on the board. Weirdly, now that I've taken the screen out, this is no longer working. I thought it was because it was shorting out. I thought it shorted out when I was mucking around with the soldering iron. But watching back the video, it didn't. I did short out a couple of things and it did temporarily knock it out. But when I turned it back on, it was working fine. Now that the screen's out, when I put batteries in and turn it on, it all lights up, but it doesn't play the sounds of the game. So I don't know whether it actually needs the screen or not in order to make, you know, to play the game. Does it need to see the screen, those chips, which I would have thought no. But yeah, I'm not so sure. So when the Mac wheel screen does finally arrive, I might see, I'm not too sure, I might try to put it in this one first just to see if it comes alive, because then I would be able to get two working ones. It's just that this one here I think would be an ideal candidate for a new screen, because the actual condition of it is quite okay. The stickers are not great on the back, but it's actually in quite nice condition. So yeah, that's where we are. Let's end on a little bit of gameplay. Right, it's been a long time. It's not going to work. I wonder, can you go backwards? Yes, you can. Ah. Well, anyway, there you go. That's it. So massive thanks to Tyler for sending them in. Apologies that it was one of those videos where I don't really know what I did to get this one working. Just a bit of cleaning. Took off that diode, unless there was some sort of internal short or something. I don't really know what I did to this one. But anyway, God, that's a high one. Go on and again. Oh, look at that. Double 3. Well, let's just end on that one there. Yeah, so thank you, Tyler, for sending them over all the way from the States. Hopefully the Mac Will modification will be more interesting. Go on, do 3. Triple! What a way to end, even though I died. So there we go, the good old Lynx. If I could transport myself back to me being... How old would I have been? 13, I think. I would have just done anything to have this. So it's still nice now. It was very powerful for its time. So there we have it. You will see this one again, but when it will be, I'm not too sure. That's it for this video. Take care, everyone.
I was old, I was young, I was sitting in the sun. I was tired of the run, I was done. Life was great, life was hard, in a way an awful card. You can't win the losing hand. But the rain stopped falling and the line on the floor was crossed, and the pain I'd been feeling washed away to return another day. I was cold, I was bold, I had fragmented my soul into pieces contradicting themselves. Perhaps it is as it is, how the world is the mess, means that every heart and soul needs to be whole. And the road signs keep changing as the road stretches out ahead, and the mood keeps on changing. All I wanna do is lie down in bed. How are you? Are you blue? I can sense a sadness in you. Don't you worry, every storm passes on.